To the show from the United Way of South Central Michigan, Marketing and Communications Lead, Rick Chambers. Hi, Rick.
Good morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The day's getting away from me.
Well, good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Last time, I think a couple weeks ago, we had someone from the United Way on, and we were talking about the ALICE report about to be released, and I understand the report is out.
It is. The ALICE report was released at the end of April. And just a reminder for folks that may be tuning in, what does ALICE mean? It's asset limited, income constrained, and employed. So this is really a data-centered focus on households that are struggling with financial hardship.
A lot of times they refer to the population that lives paycheck to paycheck.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's the ALICE population itself is those living between the federal poverty level and that what they call the ALICE threshold, which is the point where folks can just afford the basic needs of life.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of people, that are, it's paycheck to paycheck. Can't buy the next thing until payday.
Yeah, and we run into that a lot, right? In our work with United Way, folks that are just struggling to get by. And something as simple as like a water pump going out of their car can cause a whole cascade of issues that put them even further into financial hardship and sometimes even into poverty.
So you're looking at, and I understand this happens all over the country, you're looking, but specifically Michigan, what does it say? How are we as a state relative to the ALICE population?
So in Michigan, actually, we are about in the middle of the pack of the rest of the country, about 22nd on the list. For individuals who are living below the ALICE threshold, which is, again, that level where they afford basics of life, 39% of households are either in that ALICE category or in poverty. About 13%, actually, are in poverty. And that is true for the state as well as our 6-county region that we're responsible for.
And more specifically right here, in terms of Jackson County, what does the ALICE report say about our town?
So Jackson County is 42% of households in Jackson County. In this latest report, which is 2021 data, it includes some of the pandemic as part of that, fall below that ALICE threshold.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's about a percentage point higher than the last report, which was 2019 data, came out in 2021. About 12% fall below the federal poverty level. So the ALICE population grew a little bit that period of time, and again is something that we focus on quite a bit in our work.
Yeah, but the pandemic, so there's got to be some influence of the pandemic.
There is. What we found in that, having that first year of pandemic information as part of this data report, is that some of the relief programs that were put in place helped sort of soften the blow that a lot of families were facing. For example, the child care tax credit that was available, it actually helped a lot of families crawl out of poverty nationally. So the impact of the pandemic was lessened as a result of those support programs. But the flip side of that is a lot of those programs are going away now, and these families that are facing some of the big challenges on top of inflation rises, concerns around the long-term economic health of the nation and so forth. There's a lot of things that they're concerned about.
Yeah, so $50,000, $60,000, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you break it down to how much people need each week, it really isn't that much. It's not enough.
Exactly. Part of the study looks at really a couple of different budgets. One is a survival budget, which is basically just the absolute bare bones basics that folks they need to have in order to get by. And that one, a monthly income in Jackson County for a survival budget is about $4,400 a month. And that, again, is just any little thing, a water pump or a water heater leaks or something like that, they're in real trouble. And that's for a family of 4. To get to a stability budget, you're talking about closer to better than $6,000 a month, about $6,600, I believe, in Jackson County. In order to be, that's a place where you're paying for the basics, You're also be able to put away a little bit of money for like an emergency fund and start saving for the long-term building assets, having a reasonable home and that sort of thing. So.
Is there anything that was surprising or anything that we've learned from the latest Dallas report, Rick?
I think the biggest takeaway from this new report, I think, is the issue of the power of partnership. One of the things that we had an opportunity as United Way to do in this past year is go to the White House and talk a little bit about how our working with federal and state officials on managing some of the pandemic programs that were put in place in our various communities, how well that worked and how positive that was for the families that, particularly in under the ALICE threshold. How important that was. And I think that really sort of underscores that, hey, if we can look at these kinds of partnerships, connecting the dots between government and nonprofits and business and other sectors of our community, we could start to make a real difference for ALICE. Because at the end of the day, ALICE are people that we count on. That, whether they're cashiers, they're fast food servers, home health care aides, these are folks that we count on every day that were standing at the forefront during the pandemic. And if we can come together and start to build these solutions, we can make a difference for them and ultimately for our community.
And you mentioned a lot of those employees are tipped employees, so just on a day-to-day basis, people can make a difference.
Absolutely. So, and there's a lot of discussion too about how do we deal with things when we talk about income. We talk about those that are part of the tipped population, and is that the right thing to do? Is that does that give them the strength that they need in order to be financially stable? There's talks around issues like minimum wage, and we can say that 61% of the jobs in Michigan are pay under $20 or are hourly jobs, and it's about 70% of those pay under $20 an hour, which is not enough for most households to be able to live above the ALICE threshold. So those are kinds of conversations that we need to have.
So the partnerships that, United Way's involved in either in building or fostering, can you give us an example of how some of that partnership, collaboration is impacting the needs of ALICE?
Absolutely. So to start with, some of the work that was going on during the pandemic, helping manage some of those resources that came into the community and make sure they got to the people that were most in need. Some of the ongoing things that we are doing as United Way are some of the partnerships with local funded agencies. So, the organizations that we work with, that we help fund, there are grassroots organizations that are getting right into individual neighborhoods where there are particular needs and very specific needs that we're able to help address. So, Partial Girls is one that occurs to me that we have a great relationship with. There are programs like our Program Assistance Center, which is the utility assistance. So folks are able to call in and not only get help with their past due energy bills, but get some guidance around some of the programs that are available for them to become more financially stable. So it's a one-stop shop for them to be able to do that. Another partnership, True Community Credit Union. We have a tool on our website that people can actually go to and build a budget and get tips and information, and it's completely free. That's another tool. And lastly, I guess I'll mention is our JobStar network, which is providing success coaches in the workplace for member companies, so that many of whom are employing ALICE workers who, when they face that one little challenge that can knock them off their financial horse, as it were, they're able to get the kind of help that they need in order to move forward.
All right, and the whole report's available on your website if people want to dig into it, and also see the budget tool and all the other information you have.
Yep, so united4scmi.org/ALICE, you'll find tons of information about Jackson County, and particularly some data around some of the demographic groups that are particularly hit by financial hardship. So Black-run households, Hispanic-run households, single female-led households, all of them have particular challenges as they work through through the financial hardship, and we're trying to address that.
Well, we appreciate the work you guys are doing, and thanks for sharing the latest report with us.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, good to see you.
Same here.
He is the Marketing and Communications Lead at United Way of South Central Michigan, Rick Chambers.